what was the earliest literary form? And according to the study of yoga, who invented yoga? Shiva. And who is Shiva? Which god is he? God of destruction. Okay, so you remember that. Okay, good. Um, Now, there's this guy that wrote about the 8 limbs of yoga called Ashtanga Yoga, and his book is called the Yoga Sutras. Who is he? Start with a P. Patanjali. Everyone say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Patanjali. Patanjali. So Patanjali wrote this book called the Yoga Sutras, and we're going to be discussing tomorrow a few sutras that are important for us. So this is an important name to know. Patanjali. Yesterday also, on his birthday, we were talking about another yogi that started this meditation movement throughout the world. What's his name? Crickets. Okay. The, this is his name. And it was his birthday. And they say the Buddha was the most powerful yoga master in the last 12,000 years. Okay. My guru told me yesterday. Okay. Right. The Buddha. Okay. So meditation comes from yoga. Meditation comes from yogic discipline. Meditation is part of yogic discipline. The Buddha taught meditation, but it has its foundations in yoga. And the goal of meditation is called samadhi, right? Inner peace, being one with everything, etc. Okay, so when you're one with everything, you've reached the goal of your practice. Have you ever felt that? You know, you're lying in Shavasana after practice, and everything is amazing. And everything is where it should be. And your mind is completely free. Have you ever felt like a little bit of that? It's a little snapshot or a little bit of a sneak peek into the samadhi states. Okay? What are other important things? We were talking about the Bhagavad Gita yesterday. Do you remember that? And there are 5 margas. 5. So you want to make sure these things are written in your notebook. The 5 maybe ways to samadhi. The ways to inner peace. And there are 5 of them. Bhakti yoga, mantra yoga, what else? Dhyana yoga, karma yoga, and finally, Raja yoga. Where does Hatha yoga come from? Which one does Hatha yoga come from? The last one. This is where meditation comes from. This is where Hatha yoga comes from. Okay. How about chanting? We're chanting there. When you sing the name of the Lord until you are in ecstasy. Okay. How about if I chant Om Mani Padme Hum 10,000 times, which one is it? Mantra. How about if I read the Yoga Sutras, which one is it? And what if I water plants today at 6 a.m.? Okay. You're not doing it because we told you, right? We're doing it, you're doing it because you want to. Okay, so this is a little review of yesterday. Okay, so make sure that these are the key concepts from yesterday. You are going to have a written exam at the end of this month. So just to let you know, all of this is included as well. Yes, it's in the history of yoga, the book. Not all of you have your books yet, but you will have your books by the end of today. Okay? But better to write because that's how we learn, yes? By hearing, writing, and visualizing in our brains, we learn. Don't rely on the book because the book won't write your exam for you. Okay. So let's continue where we left off. Where we left off, we were talking about Patanjali and how when the Chinese movement is also developing in the yoga world. This is called Tantra. Tan means alignment. To balance is vehicle. So Tantra actually means vehicle for alignment. What alignment? What are you trying to align? What you're trying to align is your energy. You're trying to align your energy. You're trying to fine tune your energy. You're trying to lift your energy. Where it's aligned, the energy of you to the higher centers of you. And here we have sexual energy. It's not very potent. So through Tantra, we lift that energy up into the higher energy centers to produce high frequencies in your body. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the details, it's not training. The point is that Tantra is energy work. However, sadly, in the modern day, due to certain misunderstandings about the reason for yoga, they forgot about this and they concentrated on how to have a longer orgasm. That's not Tantra. I'm sorry. Okay? It's the opposite direction. Okay? Tantra raises your frequency. So, in this stage in yoga development, the energy body, technologies of the energy body were developed a lot. This is when we start to talk about knowledge of the chakras. You know, you all know what the chakras are? The chakras are energy intersections along your spine. Deep knowledge about the nadis and the energy channels of the body. In Chinese system, we call them meridian lines. In the Indian system, we call them nadis. It's the same thing. There are 2,000 nadis in the human body. 72,000. Yeah, but right now, we're only going to learn 3 of them. 1,000. A shitload of nadis in the human body. The doctors that do acupuncture know the nadis so well that in China, if you're going to have open heart surgery, form and you tick anesthesia or acupuncture. And if you tick acupuncture, they stick the needles in the right place and you can have open heart surgery and not feel anything without any chemicals in your body. That's how good they know the nadis. That's what they said on National Geographic. Oops, sorry. That's what they said. Maybe not in every hospital, but there are places in China.
Pay like immense amount of money to do it properly.
Okay.
And it's very risky. I know, I messed myself up.
Are really from acupuncture in China?
Yeah, Yeah, then I paid a good doctor to fix me up.
Okay, so it's expensive.
Very
It's
expensive.
not cheap.
Rarely
Okay,
somebody knows.
but it's possible.
It is. But
Just like anything in the modern day, there are a lot of hacks and a lot of more people who are trying to rip you off than real.
that's
Yeah,
Japan. If you want good acupuncture,
Japan is better.
because all Chinese who knew ran away,
Go to Japan.
go to Japan. All of them
Ah,
killed.
because of the political
No, everybody's
situation.
killed. There are
Okay,
no hooks. They don't know what they're doing.
okay. So Japan is the one
They
that,
took the Chinese medicine, traditional, and they actually put it in books in writing
wow,
and
that
made it a system.
that
And
is
we've lost it.
that is so awesome to know. That if you want to go to acupuncture, you go to Japan.
Yeah, don't.
Wow. Thanks for that. Okay, so Tantra, the technology of the energy body, started to become more and more developed at this time. So we have practices that work on you through your energy. Whereas before this, you had practices in ancient times of the Vedas that worked on you through sound. And then in the time of the Bhagavad Gita, you had practices that used actions, different kinds of actions to work on you. And now the technology is using your energy body. How can I achieve higher state of awareness, me to samadhi? Okay, so this is called the tantric period in yoga history. And it is during this tantric period that different kinds of technologies about chakras and nadis started to become more concrete. But something happened in humanity after that because people realized at a certain time that we need to work on our body too. That for some reason, at that age of the world, people's bodies are not as great as they were before. And we needed to put some kind of work into our bodies. Okay? So for some reason, physical practice became more and more important. So if you look at the Buddha, they say the Buddha was around 900 BC. That's the Buddha, roughly. Okay? Patanjali, they say around 1500 BC. Patanjali came first, and the Buddha. At this point in time, after the Buddha, we have Tantra. Tantra already starting here, and it continues. Then something happens 1,000 years after the Buddha. 900 AD now. During the Dark Age in Europe. In India, something is born to address the needs of the physical body. And this is Hatha Yoga. At this point, the evolution of yoga, people realize that, whoa, we're doing all these amazing things with our minds, doing these amazing things with our energy, but our bodies are messed up. So they were like, let's do something that starts with the physical body. And thus Hatha Yoga was born. So Hatha Yoga is quite new. So true or false, the downward dog is 4,000 years old. False. Downward dog is new in the evolution of yoga. The tree pose, talk about Parvati standing in tree pose for 13,000 years to win Shiva. The demon stood in a headstand and chanted the name of Shiva for 100 years to win his favor. So those poses are quite old. The downward dog, not that much, because asana technology was not that developed yet. Until this point in time, it really took off. So Hatha Yoga starts you off by working the physical body. So At this point in time, the evolution of the world, they said, let's work the body first so that its health can sustain the rest of the practice to later. Yeah.
So maybe at 900 BC and even before, humans weren't really human as they are today,
No,
right? They were more
no.
spiritual first.
They're, this body is also evolving through time or devolving, if you want to put it.
Right.
And depending on the frequency of the planet as well. The frequency of the planet will determine the vibrancy of the life forms on it, right? So there is a sort of like sine wave of evolution happening. And this body is changing. Like maybe we're not as tall as we used to be, or maybe we live longer now, but we're not as strong. You know, there's this, depending on the environment you're in, your body will also adapt to it. You know?
But what about in some places in Iran,
Yeah, yeah,
they
Zoroastrianism.
wrestling and they kind of yoga included, and they have the
Yes,
war dog and certain.
yes, that's right. Because,
I mean, they also knew Sanskrit.
yes, because that's part of the Vedic population.
That moved there.
Yeah, and you know, this fire worship is written in Vedas. So the Vedic civilization is actually span the large region of the world because we have Sanskrit present in Hungarian language.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they have some European words are Sanskrit. Yeah, Filipino language, Chinese, right? And here in Bali, they're Hindu. So this Vedic civilization was quite expansive at one point and left its cultural remnants when it went into decline. But asana technology, meaning this is the point in time where they actually took the scattered asanas or one or two few asanas and they started really developing more and getting into it more because they felt that it was really important. Whereas before it was just something you could do on the side and a little part of yoga. All of a sudden, at some point in the world evolution, they decided or it became trending to put asana first. This is the time that asana was put first. Other practices before were put first. Okay, so the order of hatha's practice became discipline. Then you started to hold your breath. And in holding breath, you started to develop your energy body and you developed it further using mudras or hand gestures. Okay? Which created short circuits in your energy body. And these mudras were developed during the time of the Buddha, during the time of Patanjali, during the Tantric period. And after this, then you put everything together, you meditated and found samadhi. So this is now the technology of this age that we're still very much developing today. Okay? Yeah. Yes. Yes. This is true. This is true. That's technology from the earlier periods, which is true. But not everyone has feeling of their energy body. This is something that people who are attracted to the meditation for have a good feeling for their energy body. But if you ask anyone on the sidewalk anytime today in any, have you felt your anahata chakra today? They look at you like, what planet are you on? Because they're in a different planet. They're in a physical planet. And if someone's coming from a physical planet, first you need to get them to listen to their body, which they haven't been doing anyway. Before you can even talk about energy, before you can even get the fruits of meditation. If you have someone that believes in the energy body and you start them off in pranayama, they don't need to actually do any asana. It's a two-way street. But which end of the street is the person coming from? And then you would decide. Because if they're coming from a very material-oriented existence, you can't really get them to do the subtle practices. Okay? It became more and more popular because there were more and more people that were in this situation where their existence was very physical. And even more so today. And that's why Hatha Yoga is so popular, because you're taking someone from a very physical game and expanding their awareness to something very subtle, which is really fitting the times of this age now that we're in. It's so big that Yoga Alliance won't let you use the word healing in your training syllabus, because the medical industry is cracking down on yogis because they're healing people and not any medicines. I'm just saying. No.
So it's really special that you guys got to facilitate the meditation.
Yes. It's very rare. So the point is that that's how powerful Hatha Yoga is. Hatha Yoga is a powerful force. Why start doing it? To liberate from suffering. Remember, this is the theme of why we're doing yoga in the first place. To liberate from suffering. And in this age of the world, suffering was very difficult. You had disease, you had pains in the body, you have mental pains. And through the physical body, through working the physical body, we're able to solve things. Okay, asana, pranayama, mudra, meditation. So this is Hatha Yoga. What does Hatha stand for? Does anyone know what Hatha stands for? The male and female aspects of a person. Ha stands for yang. And Tha stands for yin. Understand now? Yin, the male and female aspect, the feminine and masculine aspect, the right and the left brain. So Hatha means balancing the person, acknowledging their dualistic nature. We are hard and soft. We are strong and weak at the same time. Too hard, you will break. Too soft, you will also break. Like Buddha's aha moment was when he was sitting, doing a very, very severe practice. He was starving himself, doing some really austere stuff.
Jain?
I don't know if he was Jain, but I think they call them sannyasi,
When you don't eat anything except
the fruits and things that fall on the tree. Or
Jain is when you just eat the poop of the sheep and
no. Jainism, they have a very special diet because they won't cause harm to anything.
Yeah.
So they don't pull root crops out of the earth because you're going to hurt the earth. But they do eat fruits and they do eat vegetables. To pull them because you'll hurt the ground. Something. Anyway, yes. Well, I'll get to there. I'll get to there. Yeah. So, to balance the body, you need to find a middle way. And the reason why I was talking about Buddha is he's like doing some very extreme practice, and maybe it wasn't working out for him, and he maybe fell. And then there's this fisherman in the river telling his son, you know, they're pulling up the nets. If you tighten the rope too much, it will break. And Buddha's like, look it, we're going away. Because what we need to find in this human form is balance. Balance between the two dualistic natures of you. The feminine, the masculine, the right and the left brain need to work together and not one overriding the other. The body will be in a state of imbalance. Your right brain is the feminine part of your brain and it's connected to the left side of your body. This is known by science, yes? This is neuroscience. Your left brain is the masculine part of you connected to your right side of the body. And if you use one part of the brain more than the other, you will notice that there's a dysfunction of strength, flexibility, or control in the opposite part of the body. And that's why in Hatha Yoga we do something on the right, then we do something on the left. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to balance our brain, the two parts of your body, the male and female, the yang and yin and you. And when you come to an equanimous state, equanimity means equal. You come to a state where everything balances off and everything is equal, you're happier, healthier, and more sane. Which is pretty much the starting point to get into the higher states of awareness. Yes. 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 And the masculine, right side of the body, left side of the brain. Feminine, left side of the body, right side of the brain. We have them both, and both need to be equal.
Is this connected somehow that most people are right-handed and the right-handed?
Well, they were forced to be right-handed. And because maybe you're naturally left-handed and you could have been okay left-handed.
But my mom put me to right.
Yeah.
My right hand
Or
already
introverts in society today, in some societies, introverts are told that there's something wrong with them. Well, maybe there's nothing wrong with them. They might be just functioning in different way than the way that is professed to be successful in this life. You know what I mean? Or the arts. If you're artistic, you're using your right brain more. So if you're artistic and your parents come up to you and say, no, being an artist won't make you any money, so you're going to take up accounting instead.
They're not.
They're not lying. The point is that this person, you never know, they might be more successful because they suck at math, they suck at, rather than getting them to do something they're good at. And perhaps out of the 100 artists, they could have been the one that made it. But you never know because you don't foster that ability in you. The fact is we're both creative and logical. Everyone is both creative and logical. But which one to choose? Why not be like Da Vinci and use them both and be a creative genius? That's what you call a balanced guy, Da Vinci. He's an artist and an inventor at the same time. Okay, so when Ha and Tha come together, it's a really good thing for the human because they become more balanced inside. They're not wrestling with themselves. Okay? So Hatha Yoga gives us this path to be able to find the balance within. Find the balance in your system. Find the balance in the structure of your body. Find the balance in your mind. So you can be happy, healthy, and sane. So this technology is the earliest technology. So far, we're still in the age of Hatha Yoga because every yoga comes from Hatha, except Kundalini, it comes from the Tantric period. Okay, Kriya Yoga comes from the Tantric period. Okay, but Hatha is what most of the yoga nowadays is doing. And so there's this book written around I think it was 1380. A few decades before, maybe 100 years before Columbus. In 1380, this book called the Hatha Yoga Pradipika was written. So the Hatha Yoga Pradipika is a manual on Hatha Yoga. This manual on Hatha Yoga gives us a little historical snapshot of how they used to do yoga in the 1300s. And in that book, there's this line that says, 80 asanas were invented by Shiva. 80. Of course, they have to give Shiva the honor of inventing it, or it wouldn't be something like, authoritative. They didn't have certification before, so they would trace their lineage back to Shiva. So they said 80. You know how many asanas they have now in the modern day? Around a decade ago, this guy named Dharma Mitra published a book on yoga where he had around 900 asanas. So in a few centuries, what is it now? Year 2000, no? How many? Not even a century. Not even a 1,000 years. Several centuries later, not even 1,000 years later, from 80 to 900 asanas. Not including aerial yoga, not including, I don't know, some kind of yoga to do in the water. Not including, I don't know what other yogas they have there. So the evolution is happening. Now Instagram, they're coming up with all this funky stuff that I'm sure wasn't there during this time. So asana is evolving. I don't think that's actually a bad thing. Again, yoga is evolving to fit the situation that you're practicing in. Situation, it's a very physical world. So asana technology is still evolving. We're talking about alignment. That really wasn't something that they talked about back in the day, because there weren't any lawsuits in the caves of the Himalayas. So no one could sue you if you thought you're this way. And now we have alignment to just keep lawsuits from, being a thing. It's just part of the evolution of the technology. Okay? So you see alignment being very, very much developed in developed countries due to this law system, where if you go to India and train in India, alignment is not that, I would say, a big deal. They make a bigger deal of alignment in countries where it's dangerous for you to hurt someone. Okay? So Hatha Yoga is new. And like anything back then, they would trace their lineage back to Shiva. Shiva had to be given the credit for inventing it, or else it wasn't legit. So how could you claim legitimacy? You trace your lineage back to Shiva. My teacher's teacher is this, and their teacher is that. Shiva. And then you were legit. Otherwise, you weren't legit. So there's this beautiful legend about Hatha Yoga and how Hatha Yoga came about. I taught you about the old version of Legend of Yoga. Remember them yesterday? The first students of Shiva. Remember Shiva invented yoga? And then he taught these 7 guys. And then they taught the world. Okay. There's a different legend from Hatha Yoga. Okay. So Shiva decided to train Parvati in Hatha Yoga. And because it was a secret training, he created this giant air bubble and went under Lake Manasarovar. It's a holy lake. Tradition. And in that giant air bubble, he was teaching Parvati Hatha Yoga. Parvati is his wife, if you don't remember. Parvati are training Hatha Yoga in this giant air bubble in the center of the lake. Meanwhile, a few years ago, there was a baby that fell in the water and this fish swallowed it. And then this dude grew up inside the fish. And that fish was swimming around the air bubble while Shiva was teaching Parvati Hatha Yoga. And inside was this guy, and he was listening. He was listening and he was quite interested in it. The fish was drawing near to the air bubble, and he was in the fish listening. And then Shiva got so annoyed that he took his trident and slashed the fish. And Matsyendra, the founder of the Hatha Yoga lineages, came out. And Shiva started to teach him Hatha Yoga. So that's like the mythology of Hatha Yoga. And that's the way they would legitimize the practice. So we don't know if there really was a Matsyendra or not. But after Shiva, his name is there. So he's the mythical inventor of Hatha Yoga. And after him comes this other guy named Gorakshanath. So Gorakshanath is supposedly a historical figure who invented Hatha Yoga, while Matsyendra and Shiva are mythical. Okay, just to let you know, it's quite a nice story, yeah? This pose, we have it in our yoga. It's called Ardha Matsyendrasana, half lord of the fishes. Matsyendra means the lord of the fishes. The full pose Matsyendrasana looks something like this. This is Matsyendrasana. Most people can't do that. Half of the pose. This is what most people are doing in their Hatha Yoga classes. Okay, so sometimes they have poses that tell you stories about where they came from. Okay, Hatha Yoga. And so, for hundreds of years, yoga was passed down from guru to disciple in the Indian subcontinent, in Nepal, in Tibet, in all of these nearby areas. So you've all heard the word guru, yes? You know what it means? It's teacher. So now we say the guru is a teacher, but these teachers were special. They didn't just give technique, they transmitted knowledge and energy into the students. So guru means bringer of light. The bringer of light to illuminate the path. Illuminate. So illuminate the path. So this guru, you have to live with him for several years, be part of his family, and teach you in a one-on-one basis. And you didn't pay him till you graduated. And this is a system of learning that was prevalent in India in all disciplines, whether it was dance or music, cooking biryani. You live with the guru, he taught you the craft. And then after several years, you quote unquote graduated. And then you went on to do whatever it was that you were taught. This continued until something happened in the history of the subcontinent that we now call India, and the British came. And the British came, and what happened was they kind of mess things up. Like they always do. They kind of mess things up. So they came and they wanted to maybe subjugate this land, and part of their subjugation strategy was education and the abolishment of the caste system. So in the caste system, if my dad was a yoga teacher, I would go and study with a yogi and I would become a yoga teacher. Marry the daughter of a yoga teacher. Okay? That's the caste system. And the British outlawed the caste system. Said, no, that's not how it should be. You should choose to do whatever your family is doing. Plus, they put all the kids in school. And this system of living with the guru almost pretty much died out. And so all of the ancient traditions were in danger at this point in time. If not for a few people that were able to save these ancient traditions from dying out. And one of them in South India was this guy named Krishnamacharya. We call him today the father of modern yoga. Because yoga being practiced today, most of the senior teachers either were alive, just died, or very famous today come from him. Krishnamacharya had 6 university degrees. He's a very smart guy. And yet, instead of working in the academe, he decided to walk to Tibet. So he walked to Tibet, found a yogi living in a cave in Tibet, taught him Hatha Yoga for 7 years. Okay, so he learned Hatha Yoga from this guy in Tibet in a cave for 7 years. And after the 7 years, his teacher said, now you've learned everything you can from me. You're done with your education. Go and share this. And he said to his teacher, Guru, what do you want as compensation for this training, these teachings that you've given me? And his teacher said, I don't want anything for myself. I want you to spread Hatha Yoga to the world. So that was the payment that his guru asked from him. And so Krishnamacharya went back to Mysore. He lived in Mysore. Have you heard of Mysore? Everyone in the world, mostly, that does Ashtanga Yoga has heard of Mysore. He goes back to Mysore and remembers his wishes. He starts to teach Hatha Yoga. However, it wasn't very popular, Hatha Yoga. But so he struggled a bit until one day when he healed the king of Mysore. He healed king of Mysore yoga, and the king of Mysore said, oh my God, this stuff is so brilliant. Here's some land. Put up an ashram and heal people with it. So the king of Mysore became his benefactor. And because he was an intelligent guy and he spent a lot of time in university, he said, I'm going to put up a school. I'm going to put up a school, but we're going to learn the Vedas, we're going to learn yoga, we're going to learn chanting, we're going to learn pranayama, and we're going to accept guys this high until they're this high, and we're going to teach them in this school. And so he put up a school, the king of Mysore founded it. Nowadays, it's still there. The school he put up is still there in Mysore, and it is the headquarters of Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga. Okay. Anyway, back to Krishnamacharya. So he started training, and all these Brahmin boys from all over the country would come up and live with. It was like a stay-in school. They would live there this high, and they would graduate at like 18 with a yoga. Good for yoga, because then he rescued yoga from oblivion. Hatha yoga. He was the only guy. There was a guy up in North India, Swami, because he was a holy man, because order, Shivananda, same batch, different part of the country. Swami Shivananda was up in North India, in a place called Rishikesh. Have you heard of Rishikesh? Yeah. It's a northern yoga capital. Swami Shivananda did the same thing, put up a school. Of course, you had to be a boy. They won't let you in. I know, I've tried. So the school's still there. Yeah. And if you're a boy, you can get into the school for free and train in yoga for free, and maybe become a Swami. Okay? It's in Rishikesh, up north India. Shivananda yoga is quite popular all over the world. Okay? It's quite different than the yoga we do, but it has similar asanas. It has Surya Namaskar. It has all the yoga. Okay? We follow this Krishnamacharya lineage along with 90% of the world's yoga. 90% of the world's yoga come from Krishnamacharya and his school in Mysore. Yeah, I will tell you. In Krishnamacharya's yoga, after sunsatation, you do standing poses, then you do seated poses, then you do back bends, twists, back bends, then the last pose is the headstand. Swami Shivananda's yoga, after the sun salutation, you do the headstand. Then you do the shoulder stand, they're going the other way. You do a shoulder stand, then you do back bends, then you do twists, then you sit, and you bend forward, then you do some warriors, then you go into Shavasana. So they're opposite. Yeah, the sequence is flipped. That's it. It's the same asanas. Yeah, same asanas. It's all Hatha yoga. It's all Hatha yoga. Okay. So Krishna, we follow his lineage. We'll talk about Swami Shivananda and the other things that came out of that. But from Krishnamacharya had 4 students that really had a big contribution to the world. The first one, BKS Iyengar. Who's heard of Iyengar yoga? Iyengar is important because he gave us the technology of alignment. Alignment wasn't so important until Iyengar came around and really fine-tuned alignment. Most of the alignment principles that we're practicing today, you can credit to Iyengar because he really worked on this. That was the revolutionizing contribution of Iyengar to yoga. And not only alignment, but also props. Every single yoga equipment piece came from Iyengar. The blocks, the bolsters, the straps, even aerial yoga came from Iyengar. In fact, before his death, when he could still do asana, he would hang upside down in bat pose for 30 minutes every morning. That was part of his routine. He would hang upside down on rope. There's rope on the ceiling and he'd hang upside down on it. for 30 minutes. That's hardcore. The dude was 80. I can't even hang upside down for 30 minutes. I'll probably throw up. So that's how hardcore he was. And if you look at his book, Light on Yoga, you'll just see how incredible. And if you look at his book, you won't realize that he was a sickly child. He had a hard time being physical when he was young because his body wasn't in great shape. And that's why his mom sent him to Krishnamacharya, who was married to his oldest sister, and said, you go spend some time with your brother-in-law because he'll probably be able to sort you. And one of the main things that Iyengar says is people are locked in their bodies, and yoga is the technology of unlocking, which I think says a lot about his approach. Okay. Next person I want to talk about is a fellow named Patabi Joyce, who is the father of Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga. Patabi Joyce came to the school of Krishnamacharya, graduated from it. And when Krishnamacharya retired and moved to Pune or Chennai, he moved to Chennai. He left the school to Patabi Joyce. And Patabi Joyce took the knowledge he received from Krishnamacharya and systematized the asanas into 6 series. The series, what you're going to learn next week, is one of them. And this is the first series of Ashtanga Vinyasa. So the movement of Vinyasa, that is now the most popular form of yoga in the world. You can give the credit to Patabi Joyce for really developing this idea of vinyasa. Okay? Yeah. Synchronized movements with breath. Steps placed consciously and carefully, synchronized movements with breath. Okay, so vinyasa technology comes from Patabi Joyce. A lot comes from Iyengar. Now, Krishnamacharya's son, Desikachar, he developed yoga therapy. Okay, yoga therapy. Desikachar. Okay. Historically, to this point, Hatha yogis were more or less men. Hatha yogis were more or less men. Yeah. Desi Desikachar. Okay? Desikachar, yoga therapy. So, up to this point in the history of Hatha Yoga, mostly men. Because it was physical practice. And India is a patriarchal society. Meaning the women stayed home in physical work, while the men did all the physical stuff. So at this time in the history of yoga, between man and woman is 100% man, 0% woman for Hatha Yoga. However, something happened during the time of Krishnamacharya that kind of flipped things. So there was this lady from Eastern Europe who was married to an American consul officer who worked closely with the king of Mysore, and she was bored. She was kind of bored, and she saw them practicing Hatha Yoga every morning and found it super duper fascinating. So she asked Krishnamacharya, can I do yoga with you guys in the morning? And of course, Krishnamacharya is looking at her saying, first of all, you're not even Indian. Second of all, you've got no balls. Okay? Literally. You cannot enter my ashram because you're a woman. And so, no, I'm sorry, you cannot. It's just not the way we do things around here. Fortunately for her, her name at that time was Eugene Peterson. Okay? Fortunately for her, the king of Mysore, this is a true story, by the way. She interviewed, there's this black and white like interview of her, and she's telling the story. Fortunate for her, her mom was like an actress during that time in India. The king of Mysore had a crush on her mom. And so she said, "You tell your man to train me in yoga, and I'll let you date my mom." She's a very enterprising young woman. So they had a deal. Okay? And Krishnamacharya, because he had no choice, made her stay in the back. You stay in the back, in the dark corner over there. But yes, I'll let you in because boss said. Okay. But after 7 years, he had impressed him so much that after 7 years, she actually graduated from the school. And Krishnamacharya told her to spread Hatha Yoga and teach. She went to Hollywood, California, and set up a yoga studio in Hollywood, California. And Marilyn Monroe was her student. So, yeah. So all these, she started something here. First of all the posh people became yoga practitioners. Involving, which wasn't the way it was done before. It didn't involve feelings in Hatha Yoga before. So it's about control. And now it's about feelings. Why? Because again, asana is evolving to fit the population who are using it. Now, go into a warrior and acknowledge how you feel and sit with that feeling. That's not the way they used to do things. Yeah, so it's evolving. And again, the reason why yoga evolves is to be functional and practical. Krishnamacharya said, if something cannot be of practical use, then there's no use in you knowing it. Because knowledge must be practical. The world is evolving. Yes. It's moving into balance. So even the way that we approach actions are also moving into balance. Yeah? Okay. So after Krishnamacharya and Swami Shivananda, the world started to import yoga from India through different inspiring people. And now, all these names, Power Yoga, Yin Yoga, Jivamukti Yoga, what else do we have? Vinyasa Flow Yoga, all of these things, that's all Hatha. It's all Hatha, but it's been rebranded to style of the person that's delivering the class. The reason why is because we are in the age of branding. And in the age of branding, your title needed to be a reflection of your product. So yoga became a product, wherein it wasn't before. Now, in order to fit in the society that it was being used in, had to become a product and had to be branded. I won't say whether that's good or bad because that's not fair. On the bright side, a lot more people had access to yoga before because of branding. Maybe I wouldn't try yoga like what happened when Patabi Joyce's students went back to America and decided to teach Ashtanga Vinyasa. So they called it Ashtanga Vinyasa. And these Americans have never heard, it's in a foreign language, first of all. So the name didn't tell them anything. And so the attendance of the class was poor. And so one of them got this bright idea, I'm going to change the name. I'm not going to call it Ashtanga Vinyasa, I'm going to change the name. Power Yoga. That's how Power Yoga was born. So he's like, power yoga, because this yoga, it's going to really kick your butt. Which it does. It does. Ashtanga Vinyasa kicks your butt. So he renamed it Power Yoga. And then the classes were full. So this is the age of branding. Yeah. This yoga training will teach you how to create your own yoga if you want to do so. The sequencing theories and the tools that will allow you to put together the poses to create a certain effect. And if you want to launch your own brand, you could probably do so after this. Or have the flexibility to do the style of yoga that resonates with who you are. Okay. So that, in a nutshell, is the second part of the history of yoga. And yoga is still evolving now. Yeah, still evolving. And maybe in 100 years or so, a new chapter will be written, and that you will be a part of. That's the exciting bit. Okay. So let's sit their back straight. Close our eyes. And just allow this beautiful tapestry of where we came from to just kind of sink in. Hands on your heart center in Anjali Mudra, palms together. Take a deep breath in, and then exhale completely. Inhale for Om Shanti. Oh, that's